Welcome on in, everybody. So, tomorrow, New World Aeternum drops and New World goes to console. Today, we get the patch notes, so we get to see what kind of changes we can expect with the New World Aeternum drop. At least the ones that Amazon shared in the patch notes with us, there are always some hidden changes that they don't put into the patch notes. So, let's talk about the first big change that I think everybody wanted to know about: the target lock changes. Now, they did listen to the criticism from the player base, people who participated in the open beta, people who saw the target lock and maybe didn't love what they saw. So they've made some following changes to target lock. Killing a PvP opponent in target lock will no longer automatically switch to another target. This is good. This is actually a really good change. This means that you're not able to just blindly shoot and then right away snap to the next target. Even if you don't realize you just killed your target with a shot, it won't just snap you there. So yeah, this is a good one. Target lock will now break more aggressively when losing line of sight to your target. This one is very interesting, and I don't know how well this will impact until we go in and we see what it looks like in gameplay. And then the character's turn speed is now slower when using target lock. This is huge. I think this is actually maybe one of the biggest things for me with target lock, because one of the things that I really didn't like about it, especially regarding the use of target lock with things like melee weapons, is that when you kite around people, they'll just spin around because of target lock and stick to you with their attacks. So hopefully this allows you to roll behind someone and they don't just click their attack and whip around and stick to you with that attack. Instead, they have to actually turn and aim at you. And then temporarily, the blunderbuss will now deal less damage in PvP. They didn't say how much less, but because it is a guaranteed hit on hit scan, yeah, they're nerfing the damage of it. I don't know where this will sit. And this isn't, I guess, what we're going to see long-term for target lock. I hope we get a soft lock like we see, or a soft aim assist like we see in console shooters. And that's about as far as a aim assist as I would like to see in this game. This is still too much in my opinion, but we'll see how this plays out. At least for me personally, maybe this adds a bit more value to that movement in PvP that the aim assist was really gutting, especially thanks to that movement speed turning, or that turning movement speed. Cross-world arenas and improved matchmaking. So arenas are now cross-world, and there is going to be some MMR matchmaking in them, so you can play with other high-level arena players in both arenas and Outpost Rush. And then we've got that new PvP zone, the Cursed Mists. It is in the southwest of Cutlass Keys, and basically it's a free-for-all PvP zone. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about it, there is a developer deep dive that you can look into, but yeah, this one will be a lot of fun. This is one I want to explore. The new 10-man raid, the Hive of the Gorgons. So there we go, a raid for the PvE guys that want to play in larger groups. And we've got a bunch of new artifacts coming as well. You guys have probably had a peek at these, but we'll go over them real fast. The Cowl of Power is going to give you a 25% damage increase for 4 seconds when your mana falls below 50% and you hit an opponent. Survivor's Heavy Coat is going to give you 50% stamina back, and you lose all debuffs and gain a potion surge that instantly refreshes your next used healing potion on a 120-second cooldown. The Ghostly Touch Medium Gloves. When you hit an empowered enemy, you dispel 2 of their empowers, and you gain a 10% empower on a 4-second cooldown. That seems pretty good for PvP. Then Azoth Conductor's Medium Legwear. Magician Boons, when in medium armor weight, deal 15% more elemental damage. Very strong, just flat damage bonus. Elemental Band Ring, Elemental Affinity. When you hit a target with an elemental attack, not attunement or damage over time, you gain a 4% empower for 6 seconds, and that's on a 10-second cooldown, 1 stack per elemental type. This could actually be a really good ring, but you have to run a specific build to make it work. Yeah, it's interesting for sure, but 6-second empower, I feel like would be tough to get a build that can really utilize this outside of a full mage build. Tsarna Warhammer, consume, you gain 25% lifesteal against knockdown enemies, and this weapon itself has a ton of lifesteal baked into it with its other perks. Very interesting. The Grace Greatsword, this is probably going to be the most popular new artifact weapon. Offensive speed, when you enter offensive stance, you gain 20% movement speed for 6 seconds, and then they put Keen Speed on here as well, which is just a regular perk. I don't know why they put that there, but it also has Keen Speed. Very, very strong. You'll be able to push over the 50% speed cap with Greatsword quite easily. Yeah, that's going to be a scary weapon. And then we've got Power Stone Flail, Heavy Burden. While above 90% health, attacks inflict 20% weaken for 5 seconds on a 5-second cooldown. Of course, there's going to be a new season's reward track. You guys can look up all of the season's rewards yourself if you want on the New World website, but I'm not going to go over all of that. And then we've got some other additional notable updates. We've got the repeatable endgame soul trials. So this seems to be a single player kind of PvE activity, and I'm curious what kind of loot you're going to get from this and how often you'll be able to do these. The following content has been increased to level 70 and now includes up-leveled rewards, Sandworm Hatchery, and the Winter Rune Forge Trial. So this is going to be some other access, I guess, to those endgame content. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get the 725 gear score stuff from this content. There is swimming. We've talked about this a lot. This has been hyped up about this patch. But yeah, we finally get swimming. The new cinematics, new repeatable expedition quests, new fishing quests. A new character slot as well. There's going to be cross-platform play, which is a big deal, I think, just for having the world feel more populated. New starting experience. There's been performance optimizations, new standard worlds. Player archetypes, enhanced controller support. The archetypes, I'll make a guide about for release day. There's actually something interesting with the archetypes. And then maximum gear score, increase set to 725. So yeah, that's exciting. And then we get to some fixes. There were a ton of fixes. I'm not going to go over all of them. It's basically just stuff to make the game function the way it's supposed to function. There was a big change to the AI staggering. Hitting an AI enemy, not a player enemy, with any light or heavy attack as well as certain abilities will now cause an interrupting reaction to the hit. And the staggers caused by these attacks are limited by a cooldown that is triggered after a certain number of staggers. For melee attacks, it takes 2 to 3 staggers for them to have to trigger the cooldown, so you get more staggers with your melee attacks. With ranged attacks, the cooldown will trigger after a single stagger. Again, this is only for AI enemies, and silver and gold nameplated enemies will be less susceptible to those staggers. So yeah, no impact on PvP, so I'm okay with that. And then there have been some combat changes, mostly just fixes up until this point, but the Constitution 50 attribute bonus will now give you 1.5% gathering luck instead of tool durability, and the perk itself has been reworked to give you the armor I believe it's supposed to give on no health condition, but they've lowered the amount of additional armor that it gives you. Stamina damage values have now been normalized across all tiers of the same weapon type. So melee and ranged weapons are going to be dealing the same amount of stamina damage from my understanding now. Magic basic attack projectiles spawn a few frames sooner to make them line up better with the animations. This is actually really awesome. This will make it easier and feel better when you're using a fire staff or any other magical weapon because the projectile's just shooting faster. It feels more intuitive to use. It feels cleaner. And they also improve the animation blending when canceling dodges, full body attacks, and reactions with ranged attacks. Again, I'm going to have to try some of this stuff out, but I did hear that on the beta that I didn't get to play myself, everything felt a little bit cleaner to play, and they do talk about a few of these animation changes that they make and how they're trying to make combat just kind of feel smoother. We already talked about the target lock changes, some more notable fixes. Now let's get to those individual weapon changes. Penetrating shot will now support smart cast, which is awesome, but outside of that, it's mostly just fixes to the bows, things to prevent the rapid fire bug that was kind of happening, as well as just fixes. Yeah. And then blunderbuss, nothing but fixes as well. But the thing to note about blunderbuss is it got a net big damage decrease because of the auto lock that's coming with this patch. So we don't know how much damage blunderbuss is losing. We'll have to see. Fire staff, pillar of fire will no longer slightly push back enemies, but it's still going to be that auto lock instant cast. Pillar is going to be very hard to avoid when people are locked onto you with it. Otherwise, just some fixes to fire staff outside of that. Flail, again, just some fixes to flail. Nothing really changing anything here other than you being able to hit opponents with the arcane eruption if they're knocked down or crawling instead of just swinging over top of them. Great Axe, they made a few changes to the gravity perk, but it's really not supposed to change how it functions. It's just supposed to work a little bit better. And then Great Sword, they nerfed the grit on the Great Sword heavy attacks a little bit. You don't get it quite as early. You have to go 10 frames into the charge now, similar to what we see on Warhammer and Great Axe. But outside of that, again, just fixes to it. Hatchet, again, they just put some fixes in. They do allow you to redirect Raging Torrent now if you have the camera direction for melee attacks turned off. So I guess you can just whip around the torrent, but Not any really big changes there. Ice Gauntlet, again, just fixes to it. Life Staff, again, just fixes to it. And then Musket, again, just fixes to it a rename of the backdraft ability so it doesn't share the same name as Fire Staff. And then Rapier, again, mostly just fixes, but Rapier did actually get some nerfs here. The backside Rapier perk that was doing 15% increase to all damage is now just critical damage, like it's supposed to be. Rapier's damage over time was reduced to 10 seconds from 12 seconds, and the additional damage from Evade's Adiago is now decreased to 10% from 15%. Wow, really sad for Rapier to be like the only weapon that actually gets nerfed, but as someone who plays mainly Rapier, it is the best weapon in the game. Even with these nerfs, it's still the best weapon in the game. Moving on to Spear, again, just fixes to Spear. Nothing really crazy here. Void Gauntlet, they slightly increased the hitbox size of Void Blade, and they took away the issue where you were getting that ranged light attack slow when you were using Void Blade as well. So just some functionality fixes to make the Void Blade feel a little bit better. And then Warhammer, they allow you to aim Path of Destiny while starting the attack using directional inputs, and a little bit of a fix for the stun. But that's really it. Not really massive weapon changes outside of fixes to stuff. And again, some more game mode updates. These are just fixes to stuff that wasn't working properly. Invasions will be disabled for the first week of the Fresh Start servers. So yeah, that's pretty good. And then the transmog tokens will no longer be obtained from elite chests. Yeah, so I guess you have to buy transmog tokens or get them from your season's reward now. You're not going to be able to farm them in game. This is very sad for me. I like it when you can farm stuff in game and not have to pay money for it, but I don't really partake in the transmog very much anyway, so that's not what I'm interested in these games anyhow. And then moving on to some perk changes. Shirking elemental damage was nerfed to 30% from 45%. Massive nerf here. But they've made some functional changes to Healing Breeze, that ring perk that people were using for a while for self-heals. I'm assuming it won't work well for self-heals anymore, but you are able to heal yourself with it. Added functionality to reduce the potency of Healing Breeze when applied to self by 35%. Now, I'm pretty sure things like Shirking Heals are not going to proc this, so we're not going to be able to utilize this on weapons that don't have some sort of self-heal like Greatsword, Life Staff, Void Gauntlet. They increased the value up to 16%. They removed the activation cooldown for this ability and changed it to be an application cooldown for the status effect and not a perk activation. So this means, from what I'm understanding, is that it's just per target. So each target has their own individual cooldown for this perk, which is great if you're using it to heal yourself as well, because your allies won't take your cooldown from you. Anyway, then just some fixes to some other stuff here. Some more fixes. And looks like some more fixes to mounts. The character limit for your character name is now 16 characters instead of 15, so that's pretty awesome. And faction cooldown is now a 30-day cooldown, which is good too. And then there's some more fixes, and that's pretty much it. So there we go, guys. That is everything they've given us in the patch notes for this upcoming update. And there's a lot that we have to explore in the update itself. So, yeah, I'm excited. Let me know what you guys think. And, of course, I'll be putting out an archetype guide for you guys really soon. And, yeah, that's it. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to jump in on the Fresh Start. Can't wait to see you guys there. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope to see you next time. Have a good one, guys.